Dr. Sanjay, can you come here? You have noted your presentation? Having this session here in All India Ophthalmological Society, the basic aim of this session is to, bring all the SAARC nation on one platform. We have 8 countries, starting from Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nepal, we have India, we have Bangladesh, we have Bhutan, and then we have Maldives, and these are the 8 countries which are there in this region. And I wanted that it should be a joint effort, so that we are having a next meeting. Our next meeting, SAARC Academy of Ophthalmology meeting, is in Kathmandu from 21st to 26th June, and 24th June. 21st to 24th June. Where I invite all of you who are sitting here to come for this meeting, because this is a very important meeting, and then you will have flavor from all the 8 countries which are there in this region, and there are countries where we don't hear much because of certain border restrictions, or there are some problems, political problems, but basically all the entire region is one from the point of view of the eye health, and also from the point of view of delivering the eye care in the entire region. Definitely we have different levels of eye care in these countries, but then they are inherent to each country, where these are local or national things. Nevertheless, our aim is to bring all the region, all the country national societies on one platform, so that we learn from each other, we give each other, and together we eliminate blindness. That is the main theme of this session. And I'm thankful to Dr. Sanjay, who has come here. In fact, I had also requested Dr. Malla, but because of certain health reason, he is not able to come here. But Dr. Sanjay is here, and we also have Dr. Inayat, who came on a very short notice. I'm very, very thankful to him for being here from Bangladesh. And of course, there are other people from here, like Suman is here, who is the organizing secretary for our, Sabina is here, who is organizing secretary of our SAARC Academy of Ophthalmology meeting, which is going to be held from 24 to 24 June. So the first speaker is Sabina. You are speaking, or Sabina. So Sabina will make the first presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll be talking about the development of eye care services in Nepal. So the eye care services in 70s, when it started, what was the scenario then? Yearly we used to do only 800 cases. That included 2 to 3 surgical cataract camps, and people were waiting for surgery for about a year. And there were only 7 ophthalmologists who were providing the eye care services, and there were no ophthalmic paramedics. In 1973, the first eye hospital in Nepal was started, that was Nepal Eye Hospital, with the mission to provide comprehensive eye care services economically with the most modern and state-of-the-art technology, which was directed towards prevention, diagnosis, and treatment. Then the training of ophthalmic assistants started there only in Nepal Eye Hospital to generate the mid-level eye care providers. So by 1981, we still had only 1 eye hospital. There were 10 ophthalmologists, 2 optometrists, 40 ophthalmic assistants, and cataract surgery per year reached to 2,000. In 1981, Nepal Blindness Survey was done, which showed that the visual impairment was 2.7%, low vision 1.85%, unilateral blind 1.7%, blind 0.84%. Apart from that, 90% of the blind were residing in the rural area, and blindness prevalence were more in females. The result of blindness survey, it shows the red are the hotter zones where the prevalence of blindness was equal to 1%, and the other areas, yellow zone, like less than 1 to 0.75%, and green zone less than 0.75 to 0.5%, and blue less than 0.5%. The Nepal Blindness Survey of 1981, it shows that cataract was the major cause of blindness. That was 72%. During the same time period, around 1978, Nepal Netrajyoti Sangh was established, and it established the eye hospitals where there were more prevalence of cataract according to the survey. So it started the eye hospitals as a model for high quality, high volume cataract surgery hospitals at an affordable cost. And those hospitals were financially self-sufficient for running on its own. It was efficient community it started the efficient community ophthalmology, which benefited a large number of people. So we could reach the poorest patients of Nepal and also of North India. So training of ophthalmologists started in BP Koirala Lions Center of Ophthalmic Sciences in Nepal, and also by the National Academy of Medical Sciences in the year 2003, and different medical colleges within and outside Kathmandu Valley started training the ophthalmologists for the development of human resource. And Vision 2020 was launched in Nepal in 1999. Then strategic planning was done for human resource development, infrastructure development, to reduce the disease burden through advocacy, resource mobilization, and through coordination. Then we did midterm review of Vision 2020 in the year 2011-2012. It showed that eye care services in Nepal is not an integral part of healthcare in the country, because all the eye hospitals in the country were privately driven. There are till date no government eye hospitals in the country, and the modality of partnership is ill-defined and is slightly poorly coordinated. However, they are geared towards sustainability. And what we found in the midterm review is there is inequality regarding gender, geography, and the marginalized population. However, we have very good infrastructure, and the WHO recommended presenting visual acuity of cataract operated cases was only 50 to 74%. Coming to the present scenario, for 2 lakh population, we have 1 ophthalmologist. For the same population, we have 2 ophthalmic assistants, and refractive error in 6 lakh population, low vision in 2 lakhs, and 30,000 children have severe visual impairment. Every day, 125 people become blind. Every day, 7 children lose sight. Every day, 250 lose sight due to trauma. And every year, 2 lakh people lose sight due to cataract. And among 1 lakh diabetic retinopathy patients, 25,000 have lost their sight. So the national target and disease burden based on WHO report for 2020. So in 2010, we had only 165 ophthalmologists. Today's date, we have 285 ophthalmologists, and our target by 2020 is 800. Similarly, the trend is increasing. Still, we have to work very hard to reach our target for 2020. So the challenges at the present day, there is the disproportionate distribution of ophthalmologists, the maximum concentration being in Kathmandu Valley, and always there is a north-south divide in the eye care resources, less eye care facilities in hilly and mountainous region as compared to the plain or Tarai area, and primary eye centers and community eye centers, They are operated by mid-level eye care providers, and the surgical services are awaited by local people until surgical camps were organized. So I would like to conclude saying that eye care services expanded and strengthened after launching Vision 2020. The services we are doing in Nepal proved as perfect private-public partnership program, and primary eye care and equity in eye care services need to be addressed. So I would also like to welcome you all in the SAARC Academy of Ophthalmology Conference 2018 in Kathmandu. It is going to be held from 21st to 24th of June. The venue is Hotel AIOC2018 Kathmandu. This we will be doing along with the 20th Nepal Ophthalmic Society Annual Conference, and the likely attendance is 1,000 delegates from the SAARC region and beyond. The theme is Vision Beyond Borders. Our website is www.sao2018.org. So early bird registration we have extended till 15th of March. Welcome to Nepal. Thank you all.
In Nepal over the period of years, and I think Nepal, in fact, I have been watching. I have been to Nepal for several times, right from the beginning of this Nepal Netrajyoti Sun, when I think that was something very good to start with, when there was not good eye care in Nepal. So those days now things have come up to a very satisfactory level. But nevertheless, there is a great need for improvement in the eye care in those areas, as she pointed out. And similarly, in India also, you can't, in fact, compare the two. But definitely, I can only tell you that I was advisor to Government of India for National Program for Control of Blindness, and I'm witness to the changes that have taken place in the blindness program and cataract surgery rate and all that. I will tell you something. In 1991-92, the cataract backlog was 25 million, and now the cataract backlog is maybe we are operating almost 75-80 lakhs cataract every year here in India. Maybe we are short of maybe 10-20 lakhs still to go. This is basically because of lack of manpower. And because of as he said, most of the ophthalmologists who get trained, they want to live in the big cities, and the rural areas they are unserved. The population of the eye surgeon versus the population is the ideal. What is ideal? The ideal is one ophthalmologist per 20,000 population. That is in Japan. But here we have, in the urban areas, we have one ophthalmologist per 40,000. That is good. But in rural areas of India, we have one ophthalmologist per 1.5 lakhs, maybe 2 lakhs population. This is the status here, and more or less similarly is also in Nepal. So we need to do much more. I was also president of National Board of Examination, where I had suggested that we need to double the seats in the postgraduates. Then only we will be able to reach the target, and we will be able to provide manpower to cater to this big backlog of the eye care which is existing in the entire SAARC region. Maybe this may be true for Bangladesh also, and maybe true for Pakistan and other countries also. So that's why that was the reason to bring everybody on one platform. I now invite Dr. Sudarshan Kokar. He is a professor of ophthalmology and heading a unit in RP Center, and a little bit changing the flavor, the people who are sitting here. So I'm changing the flavor from the development of ophthalmology in the entire region. He is now going to talk about pediatric cataract, if I'm correct.
Yes, sir.
He is a pediatric cataract. Just enjoy what he is presenting. Then we'll again shift to epidemiology.
Right.
So,
thank you, sir. It's always good to know the epidemiology, but who are the people who are actually going to work and treat these patients? So you need to have doctors who have surgically skills to handle these surgeries. I mean, just putting the person there who's a general surgeon or a general ophthalmologist to do pediatric cataract, I think is asking too much. So you have to gear up the people. Is this going to work now? Right, already corrected that one. Oops, I think there's some glitches here. So when I started doing this pediatric cataract about 10 years, 15 years back, I used to get 4 to 5 patients in a month. and we were doing 1 surgery, 2 surgery in a week, and that's what was happening. Now we get about 25 patients per week coming to the hospital, and that's because it's a referral institution, and I do about 2 OTs in a, the last one, I do 2 OTs in a week, so each OT has about a 10, so I do about 20 cataracts in a week, so that actually comes down to a huge number. Will this work? So all the videos are there, so I don't want it to fall flat because without videos. So I'm going to tell you how surgically you can improve your pediatric cataracts, because pediatric cataracts is not the same as adult cataracts. Adult cataracts, you do the surgery up front and the patient goes, pays you up and goes out, maybe he'll never come back to you again, ever again. But here the picture is different. So what is the cataract? These are the cataracts which start in the early age. They could be congenital cataracts, they could be developmental cataracts. The congenital are the one which the kid is born with. So you have other problems like abnormal movements of the eye, you can have nystagmus, you can have strabismus in these eyes. And these patients, if you don't operate earlier, will have the worst prognosis. Now this is a patient in which, if you notice this one, it looks like a clear lens, but there's a conus. So if there's an anterior lenticonus, again you'll have a problem with the vision and there will be dense amblyopia. Patients like sutural cataracts or little less dense cataracts can be left alone, but the one out here has to be operated. So how do you do the surgical skills? The surgery is very important because you start basically with the positioning of the head. Codec unavailable. Your systems are bad here, I don't know what. No, it's not working. So what I want to tell you is that please don't start using the adult speculums for the pediatrics. So you have speculums of different size, small, intermediate and large. And similarly the head rings which you use for the pediatric has to be different. You need smaller head rings, intermediate and bigger head rings. If you can start this, it will work, I'm sure. Okay, so basically the first thing is that when you do the surgery in a pediatric, the child is, you're not going to change the position of the patient by moving the head or asking him to move, because you got a you got an intubation tube inside. So if you move the head, the patient might lose his life because the intubation might not be right. The tube which you put inside for the anesthesia. So you have to make sure that before you start the surgery, before you drape the surgery, the patient's eye is actually focused and looking right into the microscope. Do you think it will work? God. So if you see the developed country, they get about 1 to 4 in 10,000. So that's the parameter. They use 10,000 live births. How many cataract you seeing in those patients? So in the developed world, it's basically 1 to 4 in 10,000. Whereas in our country, like the SAARC countries, we get about 10 times more than that. And at a given time, as of now, there are 2 billion people who are blind because of cataract, which is a totally reversible surgery, if you can pick it up early in life. God. I think I'll use my laptop, even the color is different, will be fine, I think. I can still show them the videos. I can use my laptop on this. Then you have to reset my clock.
In the meantime, can you just tell the audience,
yes, sir,
that what is the right age for doing surgery in pediatric age group?
Right. So if there's opacity in the media and if it's more than 3 millimeters on a dilated pupil, or if undilated you see a distant direct, you don't see a glow from the eye. That's called the Bruckner's reflex. If you see a red glow, that's a good sign with an undilated pupil. If you're not able to see, that means this patient needs a surgery. So as soon as I get it, the issue is how early can you operate? If you operate these kids, say less than 3 months of age, you might be putting them at a risk of anesthesia and apnea, and most of the anesthesia people won't be happy doing that. So till 3 months you have a time, because that's the time when the fixation starts forming. So if the child comes to me, I operate as early as 1 month because we have a good backup of the anesthesia team. So if you have an early anesthesia, good anesthesia backup, you should do them ASAP. Unilateral cataract should be done as soon as possible. You should not even wait for 1 day extra, because one eye is seeing, the other is not seeing, so there's a disproportionate stimulation of the eye, and one eye is going to go into dense amblyopia, and that is again going to be a problem. IOLs. Now, the second question, people normally say that you don't put IOLs in less than 2 years, which was the norm about say 10 years back. Now with the newer techniques of surgery, and IOL insertion can be done as early as maybe 6 months of age, but you have to have your normograms to refine how much is the oil power calculation you're going to do, which everything is there. When I touch it, I'm going to do about it. Unilateral cataract should be operated earlier. Under what? What have you done with this? No, where is the talk? pen drive also. So IOL, normally we don't have pediatric size IOLs. So we're putting adults IOLs in children. No, none of the companies making lenses which are smaller lenses because it's not feasible because they won't be selling that much. When I went to Australia to do life surgeries, even they were using bigger lenses, but they had a lot which came with a 5mm and a 12mm, 11.5 overall size, which lasted 6 months, and after that the company never made it because there were very few they were buying, so it was not feasible for the company. So what you need to do here is you have to do the posterior excess in all these patients and do a good vitrectomy, so your bag actually has more space for the lens to go in. So you can use even adult lenses for the pediatric. Yeah, Dr. Arora.
What's your cutoff age for vitrectomy?
Vitrectomy.
Your child is 6 years or 7 years.
Okay, so if the child is having nystagmus, I'll do a PCC even if it's age of 10 years and do a vitrectomy. So whenever I do a PCC, I do a vitrectomy. My take is if you do a PCC alone and don't do a vitrectomy, there's still a scaffold of the vitreous and it allows the VO formation. And we see this patient going into visual excess opacification again. So I think we should put the lenses in these patients as soon as possible, if they're feasible. So when do I cut off? When I don't use the lenses, when the eye, Y to Y diameter is less than 9.5mm. That means this is a microphthalmic eye, it's a smaller eye. So if this is small, even the bag will be smaller. And second, if the exit length is less than 17mm. So if it's less than 17mm, if you calculate the IOL power, your power will come to about the power will come about 44-45 diopters, which we don't have. The maximum power available to us is 34 diopters in single piece, and I think 3-piece lenses have 30 diopters. So we don't have the powers. So in these patients, you have to undercorrect. How much undercorrection you have to do? I think it's going to start now. Let's hope so. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, guys. It's coming? Okay. This is what you could have done earlier, man. I'm sorry for the glitch. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to rush through it now because the theory bit is over, so you don't need a theory bit now. Okay. So this is what I was trying to tell you, the epidemiology. Not only India, Sri Lanka, our country, even Australia has a little bit there, and if you go to the African country, they're worse off than us. So because of that, in 2020, they put in the project of saving these eyes. So if you do one child surgery of cataract, it's equivalent to taking care of 10 adults, because one blind child with a one attendant living for 80 years, I think it will turn out to be much more expensive proposition. So let's go back to this one. So when you see these patients, the first thing you have to do is the head position, and this can be done very simply. Now what I'm doing here is, I put a ring under the head, and whenever you put the ring under the head, the neck tends to flex a little bit, okay? So neck flex a little bit, that means the eye will be rolling a little down. So then we made a contraption with a cotton band, which we put under the shoulder. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take up the cotton thing, push it under the shoulder, and I pull it up or down under the shoulder blade till my eye is parallel to the microscope. And it's very simple, because once you got there, you won't get a chance to move this eyes later on. Okay, so I'll skip to the next one. Now, pediatric cataract is always a 3-incision surgery. You can't go away with 2 incisions. So what you need to do is you use a non-dominant hand. This is a left hand, so I'm doing with the left hand first incision because the eye is firm. Then I go to the other hand, use the same blade, and I make the 3rd incision on the top. So we have 3 incisions now. The topmost incision basically we use to put in the implant, and the other ones will be used for the bimanual and rexus. And with those 2 incisions, you can actually go 360 degrees all around with your cutter or with the IO probe. When you can change the hands. Okay. Then comes the staining of the capsule, sorry. So even if the glow is good in pediatrics, you should stain the lenses, because when you stain the lenses, it changes the nature of the anterior capsule. The problem with the anterior capsule is it's more elastic. The moment you give it a nick, it will try to run off. So you put in a dash of adrenaline, which is 1 in 10,000 of the intracardiac version, so it's good. Leave the dye for some time in the eye. About 5 to 6 seconds is good enough, and then wash it off. And when you wash it, you try to make sure that you take it out from all the openings, 1, 2 and 3. So when you take the dye out of all the openings get marked. So every time you're going in with an instrument, you won't be damaging the epithelium or the endothelium. So this is a very simple concept, and which anybody can follow. So why are we talking about the capsule? Because the anterior capsule is more elastic, and we have to have a size of 5mm. I have a microscope in which I have a reticule which is showing, and I'm happy because I'm lucky I have a costly microscope. If you don't have that one, you can use these small punches of RK markers, which are 5mm on the cornea. So you can just put it on the cornea with a viscoelastic, you get a mark there, and you can go all along that and do a rexus. How do you do a rexus? If you have blades like plasma blades and all those, you can do it well, but they're very expensive. So use the plain Utrata forceps. I'll show you how I use a plain Utrata forceps. And at the village level also you can do get away with the good recesses. So what you need to do is, you just remember this picture. Now this picture is important because that is the anterior capsule. This one is working, the pointer. Okay, that's the anterior capsule, the posterior, other one is the posterior capsule. So anterior capsule has to be overfilled. So you overfill the bag, take out all the turbulence from the eye. That means there should be no duality. So take out all the aqueous and replace it with a high viscoelastic. Come from the side port and give a nick straight and leave it alone. Then open the section to 2.2. And whatever size you're comfortable with. You can do with a 2.75 also without losing chamber because you've got a viscoelastic of high molecular weight inside. That is the only expensive thing which you need in the kits. The higher molecular weight, anything more than 4 million Dalton is going to do the trick. And then you just go around, all around thinking of the 5 millimeter, and this is about 5 millimeter rexus. So if you hold 10 times, 5 times in the adult surgery, you hold about 6 to 7 times in this one. So 2-3 extra grips and you get a round rexus every time you do. Okay. Same thing you can do with the long forceps also. Okay, once you've done that, you have to do the hydro. Here you do the hydro without taking the viscoelastic out of the eye. You want the viscoelastic inside the eye, so the fluid wave actually goes in the bag and does the trick. If the bag is flaccid, it is not going to cut through the cortex that well. And then you can go and take away. In the adult cataracts, always deflate the bag when you do the hydro. In the pediatric cases, you don't have to do that. You can go with the formed vitreous and just go right inside. So this is what I'm doing with the coaxial one, but better than that will be if you go ahead and do with the bimanual. So see, the chamber is well formed. The only trick is whatever incision you make, your bimanual should be going along with that. I don't want a leaky wound. See, there's no fluid coming out from here. All the fluid which is coming from this one is actually going onto the suction port. So we're not losing any weight from the incision. So incision, if it's leaky, especially with the pediatric case in which there's a low scleral rigidity, you're going to have chamber collapses in between, and we don't want that. And then if your cortex is stuck at the subincisional, you can always change your hands and you can go 360 degrees and take out all the cortex. And it's as simple as that. It's not difficult at all. It's just that you have to be having a mindset. You need to have a good anesthesia team, and then you come from the other side and go inside and take it out. And you can see my aspiration builds up. It's not crossing 500. The limit is 500. By 450, 400, it's all taken up and it's all gone. So if this kid is for 10 years of age, I'll just put in the lens and call it a day. But if the kid is smaller, you need to do a posterior capsular rexus. And why do you want to do the posterior capsular rexus? And Dr. Arora asked me. So till 7 years, I do the PCC and vitrectomy in all these patients. And that's my dictum, because as I know if I don't do that, the patient will come back again with the VAO formation and we have to do the resurgery. So how do you do the PCC? Now again, if you remember that picture over there, that was the anterior capsule and this is the posterior capsule. So if you want to do the posterior rexus, please do not overfill the bag. If you overfill the bag, the posterior capsule is going to go much further away from you into the vitreous cavity, and your manipulations are going to become very difficult. So what you do is you underfill here, you fill the viscoelastic in the anterior chamber over the iris, and whatever spills over from there in the bag is enough. Don't do anything extra, and that's about it. You don't want it pushed all the way back. If you do that, you'll always get into trouble. Okay, then again you come from the side port, same incision you use for ACC, and come and give a nick and leave it alone. And this is not a rexus with the femto. So after 15-20 patients, you'll realize all your rexus are actually round in pediatric, but they're elastic capsules and they stay very good. So I give a nick. Now you see I'm using a different forceps. I'm using a long forceps, which is an intravitreal forceps. And because I have to go longer distance, if I use my Utrata forceps for a longer distance, it will get twisted at the incision site. So it's not getting twisted. So I'm going and holding and going all around, and I can get a rexus which is about 4 millimeters. So we have 5 millimeter and 4 millimeter rexus, and the lens should go into the donut. Okay? Okay, so that's it. So if you're good, you can use your fork. The fork is as good as using a Utrata forceps to eat, which is very easy for us. But the Chinese prefer a chopstick. So with the practice, you can also eat rice with chopstick. So what I'm saying is you can use Utrata forceps in the beginning, and once you become expert, you can switch over to the intravitreal forceps with a smaller incision. Advantage, you don't need a costly viscoelastic when using a smaller forceps, because the incision size is small and it's not leaking. So chamber is formed, even with methyl soluble, you can do that. Okay, then coming to the vitrectomy. I do vitrectomy in all these patients, and that's my setting, that's not important. Now trick in vitrectomy is that you have to cut the vitreous about 2 millimeter deeper from the posterior capsule, and till the posterior capsule is of the same shape which you made. If your shape is distorted, if you notice here, it's not the round rexus here, it's getting pulled to one side. It just come in a minute, just keep looking at that. You see the rexus is getting extended here. So I sweep it up and take a cutter along with that and eat it up. So there was a tag which was trying to come in, because this vitreous, you're putting a fluid, it will get hydrated, it will try to come out. So you do a good vitrectomy, and once the surface, the shape is same as the earlier one, you can stop it there, and that's good enough. Now, and if you can't see that one, vitreous, what you need is, if you want to see a ghost in the house, you just put a white sheet in the air. If there's a ghost, it'll get stained, right? So if you can't see the vitreous, you can put a triamcinolone inside. And this is the one which is not a very expensive thing, and you can actually see the ghost, you can see the vitreous coming out from the wound. You can see that. You go ahead and cut it again until you're satisfied. The only problem is if you're using tricot, make sure that you keep an eye on the IOP, because it might have a spike the next day. So that could be a problem in this patient. Okay. So now, and then the two videos. Now, putting an IOL in this patient is important, because IOL insertion you're doing with the posterior capsule and anterior capsule both open, right? So you have to fill up the bag now. There's anterior capsule, there's a posterior capsule, and then you enlarge the section so that your tip of the cartridge goes into the eye and lens is delivered in the bag. You are not supposed to use wound-assisted insertion of IOL in pediatric at all. You will have a mistake, because the lens is going to go into vitreous. The other trick is, the moment you go horizontal, it's something like an aeroplane which is landing, it's coming down, nose down, but it never nose doesn't touch the ground. Before touching, the nose goes up and the hind wheel touches the ground. I mean, that we all know. So this is what we found out, that if you do improper insertion, it might go into the vitreous. So this is what you want. So the moment your haptic is gone in, take up the leading haptic up in the air into the bag against the posterior surface of the anterior capsule. So you have to deliver the lens against the posterior surface of the anterior capsule, not on the posterior capsule per se. Because if your posterior capsule is weak and rexus is not good, it will extend. So this technique you can use actually for the posterior rexus, which is not a good rexus, if you've done with the cutter also. And this will be published about 5-7 years back. You can pick it up. And to finish off, there's the last video. Now, surgery will be not over, because you have to suture these wounds. So you have to suture the main incision, and side port you have to hydrate. There's a technique, I'll tell you what we do. So main incision has to be sutured till the age of 10 years, because the moment the patient comes up with anesthesia, they'll rub the eye, they'll cry, so you might lose it. So please put a suture for all these children in the main incision. And then you put in a bubble and try to hydrate the side ports. If your bubble does not expand after leaving it, that means your wound is airtight. If it is expanding, that means the aqueous is leaking out, which is allowing the bubble to expand. So this expanding bubble is a sign that your wound is not secure. So please go ahead, if you have a problem, please put sutures on all sides. So whenever I operate in Australia, I have to suture all the wounds, because they don't get the OT every day. I have an RP center, Dr. Azad has set up good setup there. We have 4 general anesthesia teams running every day from 9 to 5. So even if you have to put a suture next day, we can go ahead and you ask the guys to start it. Whereas if you don't have it, please put sutures. You can always take them out in the first anesthesia examination after 1 month, and you can get away with that. So what is the power I'm using? So this is my protocol, which we use for 15 years. And the issue is, in adult cataract, it's as simple as that. It's a bullseye, it's a standing target, you can shoot. Whereas what happens in the pediatric is a different ball game. So that's the last slide. So what you need to do is, you're chasing the power of the eye with the growth of the eye. So eye is growing, the vitreous is there, the eye is growing, patient not wearing glasses, enveloping, the eye is growing more, so you can't calculate this power of the eye. So you have to take into consideration the age, the axial end at the time of your surgery, and how much undercorrection you want. With that only you can achieve a target, and you can always hit the bullseye in these ones. And that way you can reduce the childness, especially the pediatric cataract, childless blindness, which is the most important. We can finish it up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sudarshan. Is there any question for Sudarshan? Anything you want to ask? Sudarshan, tell me, how often you do IOL exchange?
Okay. So we've been doing it for the last 15 years. So my IOL exchange is only, I think, 6 to 7 patients. And the reason for that is not because of the increased pressure, it's because of the power. So some of these eyes are outliers. So the one which took out were the one, we did the surgery at the age of 3 months. The patient was emetropic. So he was, we undercorrected the patient by 10%. This 3 months was undercorrected by 15%. He was +5. He came after 6 months, he was 0. He came after 6 months, he was -5. He came now and he's having -12. So these patients who have ±7 has to be explanted and resurgery has to be done. And these lenses are difficult to take out. We're using Acrysoft acrylic lenses and this can be taken off. But since we started using the formula seriously, why did we have a problem? Because earlier we were using Dahan's formula, sir. Dahan's and Prost's formula, they do lots of undercorrection. So all those patients who were done about 15 years back, they were still falling with a hapropic about 5, 6, which is not going away. Now these kids are about 15, 20 years and still has not gone. So we reduced that undercorrection. We do less undercorrection as compared to what was done in the Western literature. Right, sir?
Thank you. Yes.
No. If I call
That's
a
a very
child,
good question.
after 10 years of age, you can treat them as an adult. So till 6, 7 years of age, please do not use multifocal, because, especially in a unifocal, one-eye lenses, because the contrast has already been lost. They were enveloping, and with a multifocal, only 80% light is going inside the eye, so they are not meant for that. No. But after 10 years, if it's a developmental cataract, bilateral, patient started having it at the age of 6, 7 years, then you can go ahead, provided your astigmatism is true, because most of the patients we try to take up from multifocal after the age of 7 years, we realize 60 to 70% of those patients had astigmatism of 2, which is again a big no-no for multifocals, because multifocals will not go well with a cylinder, anything more than 1, 1.5.
So after the age of 10 years, you can go for multifocal.
If the cylinder is good, you can go for multifocal. I done about 50 patients, after 10 years of age, yes, we done.
If the cylinder can't we go for a multifocal to it?
No, I think that is too much, because these fibrosis in these capsules will be different. So I think multifocal as such is a big no, but after 10 years, toric is not to be concerned until it becomes stabilized. So that means the cornea will stabilize only when the child is about 19, 20 years of age, when we actually do the refractive surgeries. So if you're doing something about 19, 20, you can go for a toric multifocals, but less than that, I think alone toric is good enough, alone multifocal is good enough. Toric again is a dimension, because the shifting of the lens, you might have to expand the lens again.
But sir, below the 10 years, when you are putting this unifocal lens,
Yes.
so the child is not able to read how the life would be difficult for a child. Even if it is a unilateral, it's less. But if it's a bilateral cataract,
Right.
then the child, what about the reading this?
We always give them a reading glasses along with that. So when you put a lens, you give bifocals in the spectacles.
Is it practical children will do?
Oh yes. See, now that's where the IOL becomes important. If you leave the patient aphakic, patient is 22 diopters and near at +2 becomes 24 in the base. Whereas if you do IOL with the power which is coming about 2 to 5 diopters, you add even +2, is good enough. See which is the bigger evil, aphakic with this one.
But sir, in general population, the compliance of wearing spectacles is so difficult, so unacceptable.
So that's where the counseling comes in, because if they want to have vision,
That's again a difficult part in the rural areas and the uneducated parents.
so that's why the implants becomes very important. At least he's got a distance vision which is working fine for him.
So that's the only reason I wanted to know, isn't it a multifocal, is just slightly there would be a chance of a this thing.
Okay, let me ask you a question. In how many adult surgeries which are absolutely fine are you putting multifocal? In all patients, 100%?
Not 100%.
Why?
Majority.
Why not? Because the technique, this is still not a good for everything. So why are you trying to put in a child who has so much development left, astigmatism and all this? I think multifocal should not be tried for these ones. Because it's not true. Even the adults we are not comfortable putting, so why should we put for the child?
Thank you, Sudarshan,
Right, thank you,
for
sir.
changing the flavor, and I think it has gone very well with the audience. Thank you. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now I invite Dr. Sanjay. He is from Nepal. He was the president, past president like me, past president of All India. He is past president of Nepal Ophthalmic Society. So please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Professor Azad, for inviting us. Okay, so as Dr. Savina has already mentioned that Nepal blindness survey was done in the 1981, and that showed that the prevalence of blindness was 0.84%. And these were the red hot areas where the prevalence of blindness was more than 1%. Then again we did another survey in the 2010, and that showed that most of the hot area, they had become the blue areas, and overall prevalence of blindness has gone down to the 0.35% in the country. And only in one zone it was more than or equal to 1%. 3-5%.
3-5% is very good.
Yes.
This means, from the point of view of WHO,
Yes.
if you want to eliminate some disease, 0.6% is very good.
Yes.
So if you have achieved 0.3%, that is very good for you.
Yes. That's right. What went right with the eye care services in Nepal?
Yeah, I know. I'm aware, because maybe Nepal was a second country after India, because we started our national program sometime back in 1974-75. I was a house surgeon at that time.
That's true.
And we started this, and then obviously because of this reason, we have been able to achieve this much.
Yes.
And I think yours also, I remember Dr. R.P. Pokhrel,
That's
he
true.
was the architect of this Nepal Netrajyoti Sangh and all that.
Yes.
And then he, organized these things, and then, with the advent of this, this P.P. Korala Eye Institute,
Yes, that's
TOT in TOTH. So I'm aware of the development of this, in Nepal, and also, before this TOTH, now the TOTH there and other hospitals also now, you have the postgraduate program.
Yes.
Before that, PGs used to come to RP Center.
That's
We have had, for maybe 5-6 years in succession, we have PGs from Nepal.
Yes.
In
Thank
RP
you very
Center.
much. Actually,
Yeah.
those were the things.
Yes.
So it is all related with the planning of the eye care services in Nepal. So in the very beginning, we wanted to know where we were. So that's why the Nepal blindness survey was done, and that showed that the blindness was more in the plain areas of Nepal, and cataract and glaucoma were the main important causes of the blindness. And then after, where we want to go? So we wanted to reduce the cataract blindness, reduce the glaucoma and the vitamin deficiencies. How? At the time it was planned that we should be establishing the eye hospitals in the areas where the prevalence of blindness is more, that is in the plain areas of Nepal, where the population is more. And we should be providing the eye care services in the hilly and mountainous areas by establishing the eye care centers, as well as by doing the screening eye camps and the surgical eye camps. And at the same time we have to do the disease prioritization, like for example for the cataract, glaucoma and the vitamin deficiency, and at the same time we have to develop the human resource. So Nepal has the different geographical terrains like the mountains, hills and Tarai belt. So if you look into the infrastructure of Nepal in the 1981 and in the 2013, in the 1981 we had only one secondary level eye hospitals. When we look into the 2013, now there are more than 40 centers where we can do the surgeries. In almost all the districts of Nepal at the present we do have the eye care infrastructures. And if you look into the human resources, there is a huge development in terms of the human resources. For example, in the mid-level or ophthalmic paramedicals, we have increased nearly 70-80 times more than what we were in the 1981. And the same is true even with the ophthalmologist number as well. And at the same time, Nepal is one of the first country in the Southeast Asia region to launch the Vision 2020 programs. And because apart from the human resource development and the infrastructure development, advocacy, resource mobilization and the coordination among the different stakeholders that led to the reduction of disease burden in the country. And when we look into the data of the 2016, in a population of 30 million, Nepal had the 3 million OPD consultations and the 0.3 million surgeries were performed. So these were some of the causes. Because of that, the prevalence of blindness reduced from the 0.84% to 0.35%. And when we look into the characteristics of the eye care services in Nepal, as Professor Azad was mentioning, like one is the leadership synergy. Dr. Ram Prasad Pokhrel, he played a very key role in the very beginning for establishing the Nepal Netrajyoti Sangh, and Nepal Netrajyoti Sangh approached many international non-governmental organizations back in the 1981, and many international non-governmental organizations they came and they developed the eye care services in the country. Professor Madan Prasad Upadhyay, he played a very key role for the development of ophthalmic education program in the country, and at the same time recently Padma Shri awardee Dr. Sandhu Purohit, he played a very key role for the IOL production in the country, and at the same time like for the establishment of the Nepal Eye Bank. And another thing, like Nepal is in most of the areas where there are blind people, those areas are the rural areas of the country. So there were the different ophthalmic leaders, local ophthalmic leaders, who stayed and who worked in the rural areas for a very, very long period to establish the very good eye hospitals and very good eye care systems in the country. And at the same time, the training of ophthalmologists, like our ophthalmologists are well trained within our country, and now they are the high volume ophthalmologists. They can do quite a good number of surgeries, and we have also the very good training program of the local paramedics. Another thing, like the disease focus, if you look into the cataract surgical rate of the country, in the 1995 it was just the 543, and now in the 2013 it was the 4,510, and in the 2018 it is nearly 5,000. Similarly, Nepal adopted the SAFE strategy, and Nepal is on the verge of making the declaration about the trachoma free in this year, in the 2018. These were the different international non-governmental organizations. They came and they supported the eye care program in the Nepal, basically with the development of the infrastructures, technology transfers, and in the human resource development. So, if you look into the strength of the eye care program in the Nepal in the present scenario, most of the eye hospitals and the eye care programs, they are able to generate the running cost, and they are able to generate some more money for the development also. And this is a sustainable model because the base hospital is supporting the eye care centers as well as the screening eye camps and the surgical eye camps. And we have developed the National Eye Health Policy and the Eye Hospital Establishment Guidelines in the country with the support of the government and the different stakeholders. And we adopted the appropriate technology. Like in the 1983, we had started with the one graphite knife with the intracapsular cataract extractions, with the torchlight and with the loop surgeries. And now, in the 2001, nearly 30% of the surgeries throughout the country were being done with the phaco technology. In the 1983, the specs were being given, and by the year of 1995, most of the patients, more than 95% of the patients were receiving the intraocular lenses after the surgery. Similarly, Nepal very nicely adopted the small incisional cataract surgery, and that was the answer to the cataract blindness in the country. This is one of the programs like the Eastern Regional Eye Care Program where I work at the moment. So initially when we look into the development of the different technology and its effect on the patient numbers, like the surgical numbers, when we introduced the intraocular lenses, patient number increased. When we adopted to the small incision cataract surgery, again the patient number increased. And when we moved to the phaco surgeries, the patient number increased tremendously. There are some weaknesses of the program also. The eye care program in Nepal is not an integral part of the healthcare services of the government. And government participation in the eye care services are very, very limited. If you look into the budget of 2016, because Nepal had kind of the fiscal year 2073-74, there was only 0.29% of the health budget of the government was being utilized for the eye care services. So we need to increase it further. Because different stakeholders, they are being supported by the NGOs. So sometimes there are lack of coordination leading to the duplication of services as well as like expenditure of the resources for the same work. Most of the eye hospitals, because they are not being supported by the government, so they look for the financial sustainability, and sometimes they pay less attention for the service expansion for the universal access in the rural areas. Dr. Savina has already mentioned, like in our midterm review, we came to know that we have to increase access for the women for the eye care services, and at the same time the marginalized and the poor people. We have to establish the quality assurance system throughout the country. In some of the eye hospitals it is good, but it is not universally taken by all the eye hospitals of the country. So we need to assure the quality assurance system throughout in all eye hospitals of the country. As we are more disease focused, so rehabilitation part is a bit neglected. Similarly, we are not putting adequate funds and adequate attention on the resource on the research, eye health research. And there is disproportionate distribution of ophthalmologists. Most of the ophthalmologists are in the urban areas, and in the rural areas we have the very less number of ophthalmologists. So when we reduced the prevalence of blindness from 0.84% to 0.35%, that was mainly we were focusing on more on the disease like the cataract, glaucoma and vitamin A deficiencies. Now we have the plan to reduce the prevalence of blindness from 0.35% to 0.2% by the year 2020. But these are the challenging causes, because now we have to deal with the difficult causes of the blindness that is related with the retina, glaucoma as well as the corneal blindness. And similarly we have to increase, these are the figures that we have to achieve to reduce the prevalence of blindness. Like we have to increase the number of ophthalmologists, we have to increase the number of ophthalmic assistants, as well as we have to increase our eye care centers in the rural areas, and we have to increase our cataract surgical rate to the 6,000. So this is the gap that we have at the moment. So how to reach to the goal of the Vision 2020 in Nepal? We have to further strengthen our ophthalmic residency programs. Now it is being expanded in some other eye hospitals of the country throughout the National Academy of Medical Sciences. We are strengthening our fellowship training programs, as well as in Nepal recently. Now we are planning to make it a kind of the university recognized fellowship programs. So we are planning to strengthen it for the cataract, cornea, retina, glaucoma and other subspecialty as well. We have to further increase our infrastructure in the rural areas in terms of the eye care centers, and we need to build a supportive environment, and we have to work together with the government to reach to the vision of 2020. For the success of any programs, we need the happy patients, and happy patients are the key factor for the success of the Nepal's eye care program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjay. Next speaker is Professor Inayat from Bangladesh. So he will speak about the status of ophthalmology care in Bangladesh.
Honorable Chairperson, distinguished audience, it's a real pleasure for me to present here the Bangladesh journey of elimination of blindness due to pediatric blindness, childhood blindness causes. So this is the beginning of organized pediatric eye care service in the country. The photographs here, the Professor Syed Mudassir Ali is the actually leader of behind the initiative in pediatric eye care service in the country. Ultimately, eventually he became the advisor to the Honorable Prime Minister in the country, and Professor Ala Hussain is here in the photographs, and Professor Din Muhammad is also there. So I give the due respect to them, and actually at that time, 2000, they give the responsibility to lead the pediatric eye care center in the country, and this is the beginning of the organized pediatric eye care service in the country with the help of the Orbis International. Actually, at that time, the estimated the pediatric childhood blindness is 40,000.75 per 1,000 children, and the pediatric childhood cataract is the leading cause. At that time, there is a study was there, and it was the 33% due to cataract. So approximately 40,000 child, and most of them are due to unapparated cataract. So, and there is some of the areas for the pediatric eye care service. This is from the demand side, children, lack of awareness, affordability and others, and from the supply side we have the limited pediatric ophthalmologist and other areas. So in the 2003 to 2010, with the help of Sightsavers, there's a program launched. This is the Bangladesh Childhood Cataract Campaign, and under this campaign, 27,000 cataract surgery was done. Approximately 10,000 child with bilateral cataract. It is supported by the Sightsavers. The whole program was crash program, and Sightsavers supported the program. After that, and with this, eventually we developed the pediatric eye care center in the country. So right now it is the 15. As per the demand, it is 16. There should be there 160 million population, but now 15 is there. But it is geographically very uneven. Most of the pediatric center is located in the central area, so huge area is uncovered in the peripheral country. So we think that the pediatric eye care is a public health problem. and with the help of the site savers, we developed a pediatric eye care guideline. It is not like the clinical guideline, it is a total comprehensive pediatric eye care activities, and through workshops and others we'll visit, we developed this, how to eliminate the childhood blindness in the country or reduce the burden of this, and this is the workshops where, and ultimately we developed a pediatric eye care guideline, more of clinicals and other areas that are addressed in the guideline. And we found that at that time when developing the guideline, the pediatric eye care needs a team of multi-stakeholder, because it needs to be the primary health worker, ophthalmologist, gynecologist, optician, pediatrician, MLOP, and all these things. So it is a multi-stakeholder collaboration is needed. And Bangladesh, actually, we have the opportunity, the government service is strongly playing in the eye care role. The national eye care is one of the operation plan which is developed under the leadership of the government of Bangladesh, and pediatric eye care is one of the available indicator for this one. So we think that as we have the community clinic for the 6,000 people at the doorstep service delivery, so there must have been with a strong immunization program. So we are developing for the health system standing program. We are proceeding to the health standing approach, and this is for the development of module, because we have the field worker, they have their routine visit house to house as part of the immunization program, and they also conduct the courtiers meeting that is called the Otan Boitok in the country. So we developed a module focusing on the identifying of the pediatric eye problems and train the primary health worker, and children under 15 years are screened by the primary health workers, and children identified with the morbidity, and they are referred to the sub-district hospital. From there, children are sent to the district hospital or even to the tertiary and medical centers. So this is a integrated approach for our addressing the childhood blindness. I'd like to share some of the activities here with some of the photographs. So it is the first part we developed the module for them, because the key, very clear message should be done by the field workers as their routine they are busy to the health, because they are mostly going for the immunization program house to house and maternal child health. So this is under the leadership of the Director General Health Service. So we developed a pediatric module for the field workers. This is the workshop module developments. And then this module orientation of primary health workers in the different areas of the country, and we fortunately found the Director General Health Service and along with the site savers came forward to train the site savers and the breaks and other changes that came forward to train the health workers. So this is the one of the part is in the Jessore, southern area in the country. So we are giving the training to the field workers. And we also, as part of our non-communicable disease program, NCDC program, there is a module for training of our physicians, those are working in our sub-district level. So in the NCDC, you find that there is a photograph. In the NCDC module, I incorporated the childhood blindness also as a chapter. So this will train to our field workers. This is first two features are the development of the modules, and second are the training of the physicians, those who are working in our sub-district level hospital, in the Upazila level hospital. And this is actually the module that we developed for our primary health care. This is a very simple, this is the four message there. The cataract, the retinoblastoma, or there is a squint, and also in the ROP where the prematurity is there. And the very simple message for the community workers. And WHO also came forward with these initiatives, and we did some of the pilot projects in our some districts. This is a WHO supported project with the help in the government systems, and we are actually, my team and other also the field visit to see whether the field workers and others evaluating this one. And as Bangladesh is now going to developed country, health facilities are increasing, maternal child health development, so we are also addressing the ROP is a common emerging burden. So this is a divisional wise our initiative for orientation of the obstetrician and obstetrician pediatrician about the child health. So there is a photograph showing the orientation of pediatrician and the obstetricians. And after that, in the 2007, we want to see survey what has been changes after from 2000 to 2017. There are our initiatives, because at that time there is a 0.8 per 10,000. So what about this? So we conducted the survey. It is still going on, but I am sharing here some of the data. So again, this survey is a house-to-house survey. So orientation of the primary health worker, then screening of the household, screening of the child, and myself with my team here present, some of them present there. We visited the field areas, actually I took the, so we found that the total number of blind child is reduced by 6 in per thousand. That was earlier 7.7.5 that it is reduced. And there is also, it is just a preliminary finding because survey is going on. I am just sharing with the preliminary findings. And there is a dramatic change in the pattern of the diseases. Earlier it was the one-third is the cataract, childhood cataract. Now it is below the 10% cataracts. I earlier told that Bangladesh has substantially improved their healthcare facilities, changing to low middle income country to development country. So our blindness, what is also shifting now, earlier it was a reversible blindness due to cataract, now most of the blindness now giving to the irreversible. That's also leads a thinking for our policy maker for the rehabilitation purpose in the childhood cataracts. Another area, our health seeking behavior has also improved for the people because childhood blindness is like child cannot complain, mother cannot understand. The common key issue is that. But in this study, 80% people in my survey that they found that earlier they noticed that they had child problem. 20% we have to find out. So health seeking behavior has been improved, but 20% is still a concern for us, especially for the policymaker. So we do not do a survey, but also we go for the intervention there. So earlier we are mostly focusing on those who are the blinding diseases and like this. Now we are also considering these oculoplastic cases, and these are cases selected from our community and this surgery by the oculoplastic surgeon. Surgeon is with this patient. So our journey with the partners journey is Director General Health Service, because I am serving here as the additional Director General of the Health. WHO is one of the partners, SAARC International, Orbis International, and Center for Injury Prevention and Research. They are giving the technical and epidemiology support for us, their studies. And BRAC, you know, the BRAC is one of the largest NGOs in Bangladesh. They have the extensive network in the community, and we utilizing their Swasthya Sevika health volunteers and those are working in the rural field. Lastly, I'd like to say that Bangladesh has an unique health systems. Government is releasing the rule of the healthcare systems in the country, and government has endorsed the eye care as a priority for it. And it is a very convenient atmosphere to working with the GO government with the international NGO. So the extensive GO-NGO collaboration is a very happily marriage with the GO-NGO communications. And every success of every program is the government ownerships and the community participation. We implied this one to our projects, and we are going for a integrated healthcare systems. We have an unique system of integrated management of childhood illness in our society, and I also incorporated this pediatric eye care into the system of integrated childhood management systems. Lastly, I'd like to say that this program that I want to move forward with the help of the SAARC community, because I acknowledge here also the contribution from our journey with the pediatric ophthalmology, especially Arvind Eye Care System, because I had my fellowship from pediatric ophthalmology from the Arvind Eye Care Systems from the India, LB Prasad Eye Institute, and the Tilganga Eye Institute of Nepal. Most of our pediatric ophthalmologists are trained here. So together I can move forward. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And I think we had a very good session. If anybody has to say anything or any comments or anything. I see all-round development in the SAARC region as far as ophthalmology is concerned, and I think this is a very good indication. And I hope that when we meet next in Kathmandu, we will be able to project more in terms of different subspecialties, and also in terms of the kind of technology which has developed in all these countries. So with this, I close this session and thank everybody for having come here, especially our guests who have come from foreign countries, especially like Bangladesh and Nepal. Although they are not foreign country for us, they are all Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. Ayam Nija Paroveti Ganna Lagu Chetsa Udar Charita Nam Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. This means Ayam Nija Mana, this is mine. Ayam Nija Paroveti, but that is yours. Ganana Lagu Chetsa mean those people who are small, they calculate all these things. This is mine, that is yours. Udar Charita Nam, people who are generous, who believe that there is a brotherhood in the entire region. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam means the whole region is one. Thank you very much.